Next one on the agenda is St. James Infirmary.
Hi everybody. My name is Stephanie Ashley. I'm the executive director of an organization called the St. James Infirmary. Got some materials to pass around. And I'm here tonight because our organization, which has been located on Mission Street at 10th for the past 14 years. We're losing our building, and we, after about 9 months of looking for a new home, we are hoping to be able to move in across the street from you all to 234 Eddy Street. Sorry, not even across the street. Two doors down. 2 doors down, yeah. Thank you. So I wanted to just come and tell you a little bit about our organization. Do you need some? You have some, that's right. And be available to answer any questions that you might have. So, and I apologize in advance, it's been a long day, I'm tired. But St. James Infirmary is an occupational health and safety clinic for current and former sex workers and their families. So what that means is that we are a peer-based organization where we are providing healthcare and social services as a community to one another. And the community that we represent is people who have at some point in their life been involved in the sex industry. We use the term sex work as an umbrella term. It encompasses everything from legal activity to criminalized professions like prostitution, people who are involved in pornography, people who are exotic dancers, people who have exchanged sex for their survival needs, for food or housing at any point in their life. So our organization came to be in San Francisco in 1999 because there was this need for the sex worker community to have health care. No one in the industry has any kind of health care. And there was a lot of stigma and discrimination that sex workers were facing by healthcare providers. A lot of judgment, a lot of shaming, and just general poor services. So a group of sex workers, this city has a really rich history with the sex worker rights movement, came together and came up with this idea that we should be providing services to one another. At that time, the Department of Public Health was supportive of the idea and helped us start this clinic, basically as a pop-up operation at City Clinic over on 7th Street, 7th and Bryant. So St. James started existing in City Clinic one night a week and eventually outgrew that space and moved over to 10th and Mission, where we've been for, like I said, about 14 years. The services that we provide there range from primary medical care. We have doctors available on a drop-in basis or an appointment basis, to mental health care. We have therapy and support groups and peer counseling, to harm reduction services like syringe access, condom distribution, basically getting people the kind of basic supplies that they might need to stay safe. And we also offer a hot meal, a food pantry, a clothing closet, things like that. We also try and have sort of like community development and community building activities. Right now, we have a fashion design and garment construction class that meets once a week. And we also have a clinic that's specifically for the transgender, gender nonconforming, and intersex community, where people can have a comprehensive spectrum of services. We're a pretty small organization, so unlike some of the sort of free clinics that you might see in this neighborhood like Glide, because we serve sort of such a niche community, we don't have like lines down the street or anything. It's generally about maybe 20 people in and out throughout the day. Our support groups are typically 5 to 10 people. Our busiest night is Wednesday night, but most days we're seeing more like 15 or 20 people. So I'm going to keep rambling, is that okay? Yes, we're doing
I just want to say something about this, which fits in. started out at 18 as a male hustler, and for 21 years I hooked either on the street or at the culvert. And I did that for 21 years, and for 21 and a half years I've been out of business.
Wow.
So I'm well aware of these in the history.
Yeah.
A lot of the discrimination and the
Yeah.
pain that workers went through.
Yeah.
I think that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of discrimination from healthcare providers, as well as the way our city treats our community in general. Things like arresting people for having too many condoms on them or something like that. Imposing these laws where condoms aren't illegal for anybody else, but if they perceive you as being engaged in prostitution, then all of a sudden you're not allowed to protect yourself in the same way as everyone else. So we really do believe that sex worker rights are a human rights issue. We also believe that they're very much an LGBT issue. Over 70% of the people that come through our clinic for services are LGBT. Over a third are trans. So we definitely bring like an LGBT rights framework to everything that we do as well. We also work very closely with the Transgender, Gender Variant, and Intersex Rights Justice Project that is a group of trans people who are formerly incarcerated, advocating for trans people who are currently incarcerated. So writing letters, doing legal visits, connecting people to attorneys who are, housed in the wrong facilities or something like that. So that's another aspect of the work that we do. And basically we found out that our building was being sold and was going to be torn down and turned into tech offices in July. And since then, I have been looking for a new facility for us to rent and turn into a healthcare clinic. It's been incredibly bleak out there, if you can imagine. And we were really excited when we discovered 234 Eddy Street, because it used to be, very recently, a healthcare clinic. It was the Housing and Urban Health Clinic. And so it's already built out to be able to be used, it has a lab area, it has sinks in the correct rooms. It's like the perfect home for us. And it's in this neighborhood where so many of the people that we serve live and work and exist. And we think that the services that we can offer, will be beneficial to the people in the neighborhood. So we are really hopeful that it works out. We're very close to having a lease. We just went through our Prop I last week, and so now I just wanted to kind of introduce myself to the various different neighborhood groups and hear people's thoughts.
My one concern I have is we have a prolificity of youth in this neighborhood. And we have right across the street is the day after school program, which I've been noticing is having an increased influx of Muslim children. And the industry, the word that you're talking about, it may be contrary to their religious teaching. So that's one aspect of having possible conflict. The other thing is we have a park with two children's centers in it. And my biggest concern is if you have workers who come dressed for work, hanging outside, it could be a negative influence on kids hanging outside. So I think it can be handled in an appropriate manner, just as long as the clients there realize that there is a large number of children in this neighborhood and to handle themselves accordingly.
Yeah, and many of our clients also have children, and we also provide healthcare services to their children. So we can, when I say sex workers and their families, we provide services to current and former sex workers, their current primary partner, and their adolescent children. We don't have any pediatricians on staff, but we can provide adolescent care. So despite the fact that we are a sex positive organization, we are also, I would say, a family friendly.
Well, I mean, it's just something that you think about. So the other thing is I wanted to bring up is what do you have outreach into the adolescent community who are sex workers
So-
with the influx of Larkin Street on Golden Gate. They have their own health clinic.
Yeah.
Are you considering, or would you consider possibly partnering with their health clinic to provide services for them down here, since if you get down here, you're going to both be down here?
So we have partnered with Larkin in the past, although we don't have any current collaborations going on right now. We work pretty closely with Lyric, and Lyric actually has, Lyric is an LGBT youth organization in the Castro, and they currently have a group called SWAG, which is the Sex Worker Action Group, and that is young people who are sex workers or who have been. And so because we're a peer-based organization, we try and really, and we're not youth, most of us, we don't try and organize that community, but we do support young people who have that experience organizing one another. So when SWAG was initially looking for meeting places, we would let them meet in our community room. We've supported a number of their actions, and we do partner with them. We provide services to, again, anyone who's 12 years or older. So our services are definitely available to youth, but we tend to see an adult population.
I only mentioned Larkin Street because I'm a co-founder of Larkin Street.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
Good project.
Wow, that's amazing. In terms of outreach, we do street-based and venue-based outreach. So we have teams of outreach workers that, walk around the Tenderloin, the Mission, the Polk, the Soma, and distribute everything from condoms and lube to, granola bars and bottled water and clean socks and yeah, things like that. And we also go into strip clubs and massage parlors and, try and make sure that those workers have what they need.
Question?
Is it only for sex workers, or is it open for everybody?
So almost all of our services are just for current and former sex workers and their families, but we do have a needle exchange that's open to everyone. And on that day and during those hours, we have access, we do distribute food to everyone. Our outreach is for everyone, but our in-clinic services are just for the sex worker community.
Do they have to have a card or something?
No.
I mean, how would you know if the person is
people
a
just,
sex worker or not?
yeah, there's no way to prove, and we don't,
You don't ask?
interrogate people. We do ask
So-
everybody.
Yeah.
When people come in, we say, this is a clinic for current and former sex workers, this is what that means, what is your connection to that?
Wow.
Okay, if you don't have any connection to that, which sometimes people come in and they say, oh no, I just heard that you had free HIV testing, but I didn't realize it was for sex workers. And we'll say, okay, no problem. Here's the city clinic, we can give you a referral to services. All of our services are free, and it is, the reason we kind of try and keep it just for the community is that a lot of people that come to our clinic might not be out as sex workers to anybody in their life. And so we want to really respect people's privacy and people's confidentiality and keep it a safe space for that community.
As sex problems in there, you not know how to just put your help out, not to see this.
Yeah.
I've never even known of anything that happened to me, let's say, for such.
That's kind of discrimination? Yeah, so when we were first, in 1999, when we were thinking, I wasn't there actually, in 1999, when the idea of the St. James Infirmary was, a sex worker healthcare clinic was coming up, it was started because there was this idea in the STD prevention and control section of the Department of Public Health that the high syphilis rates in the city were probably because of prostitutes, right? This was like this idea that they had. And so in order to try and test sex workers for syphilis, what they were doing is partnering with the police officers and the sheriffs, and they were arresting people that they suspected to be sex workers, and then while they were in jail at 850 Bryan awaiting trial, they were forcibly drawing their blood. And so without telling them what it was for or anything like that. And a group of sex worker activists, including Margot St. James, who's our namesake, sort of rang the alarm on that practice and said, you know, that's a human rights violation, you can't do that. So that's one example. And then we did a survey of about, I think, 350 sex workers in San Francisco, and we asked them questions like, have you ever told your healthcare provider that what you do for work? And if so, what was their reaction? And there was a really high prevalence of people describing a scenario where they would go in reporting a symptom like, I have a sprained ankle. And then once they disclosed, I sprained my ankle working at Broadway Showgirls, they would instead be given STD tests, pregnancy tests, and they wouldn't be treated for their sprained ankle. You know what I mean? So there was this, that kind of stigma was affecting the kind of care that people were getting. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
Now, do you have some kind of being able to refer people to domestic violence? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
that would be non-judgmental.
Yeah. So this is actually the first year that we have received funding from the Department on the Status of Women through their Violence Against Women funding stream. And so they have started funding us to do our own peer advocacy and support for people who are experiencing domestic violence or violence from law enforcement or violence from, you know, people posing as clients, managers, pimps, things like this. And some of the programming that we've done with that funding is we created something called a bad date list, where if someone has a violent encounter, they can write up a description of that person, what happened, their license plate, any details like that. And we collect those reports and we distribute them to other people who might possibly be running into that person. So it's kind of like a notification alert system within the community. And then we also partner with like Bay Area Women Against Rape, you know, La Casa de las Madres. We have relationships with the other DV organizations, but we also do some of that work ourselves.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So, go ahead.
So, where in the process are you for the new space?
Sure. So we completed our Prop I. We had our Health Commission hearing last week. Health Commission voted to approve the relocation, and we are now in the process of getting another draft of the proposed lease. Yeah.
So when do you think you might be able to have the lease done and moving in?
We hope to, it's so hard to say with these things because sometimes they just take a while. We would love to be moving in the next, we hope to move in the next 30 to 60 days.
What do you need the Alliance to advocate for you?
Nothing. We just wanted to come, I just wanted to come and introduce myself and meet you all, and I've heard about the great work that the Alliance does, but I've never been to a meeting, so, yeah.
Membership packet.
What is it?
Membership
Oh,
packet.
great, wonderful, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's it, that's us.
So, who are the real criminals? I ask you again. I'm just overwhelmed by the cops. Every day I see them. There's one on every corner, and they're just in the Tenderloin, because my window looks out on the Tenderloin, and you can see them being, you know, detained just for having a lot of stuff, you know, and they just have to. I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's a problem, you know. I mean, okay, the garbage. They need more bathrooms, but we're doing some. Jane Kim is doing something about that. We have the pit stop program, so that the pit stop program is really pretty innovative, and we need to do more things like that. But, you know, Scott Wiener hired 300 more cops. And where are they? Of course, the Tenderloin, the Bayview, probably. I don't live in the Bayview, but a lot of my viewers do, and I want to give a big shout out to you right now because y'all recognize me more than anybody. Just a lot of love for y'all, for the Bayview and the Tenderloin. That's where I live. So I'm quite happy there. I live there by choice. I don't know, I just like the vibes there. And you can talk to practically anyone in the Tenderloin. It's open. Open-minded people live there. And you can't, like, to say, oh, the Tenderloin, like it's I put a negative connotation on it. But they will. People will, you know, until we change our minds about policing. And I was in the Tenderloin back in, the 70s and the 60s, and it wasn't the way it is now, except that all these jobs were outsourced, and that's why you're seeing giant lines and glide for people who need to eat, because the work, you know, they don't pay people to work anymore. So we got to get, you know, I know we're fixing that, but it's not fast enough. And I've got some things to say about sleeping in your car. There are 3/4 of California cities make it a crime to sleep in one's own car or vehicle. And we have multiple laws meant to penalize homeless people who have not yet been caught in the act of sleeping. I mean, Assembly Bill 718, the major homeless civil rights bill, it's been rejected by the California legislature this year following the Right to Rest Act, Senate Bill 608, which would have protected people's right to sleep regarding of housing status. While the state legislature is slow to come to the right side of justice and realize it's an Eighth Amendment right to sleep in public. Actually, the federal government took bold steps, and I'm quoting, to assert the rights of poor people. In the past month or so, the U.S. Department of Justice issued a brief in which it holds that laws banning sleeping and camping for homeless people in multi-municipalities that do not have adequate shelter beds is a violation of homeless people's Eighth Amendment rights. So the federal government's good for something sometime. Maybe not if Obama's in control. If we don't have a Democratic, well, we will. I don't think Republicans aren't going to get in, but we can't get Republicrats either. And I'm talking about you, Hillary Clinton. You know, cannabis is a medicine. She thinks that we need to investigate the benefits of cannabis more and research it more. And Hillary, you couldn't be more wrong. We've already done the research for 3,000 years. Okay, and so if you see homeless people, like I said, be a good neighbor and offer them a sandwich, you know, but don't call the cops. You know, just don't call the cops. Get information about the nearest services that can help them. You know, that's the only right thing to do, really, in this world where we've almost forgotten what it's like to help other people deal with difficulties. It's Alliance for Better District 6 community meeting. It's January 25th. There will be a celebration, and that's going to be at 201 Turk Street at 6 p.m. Come and drink our beers. I don't know if we'll have beers, but the other party's going to have the beer. So yeah, come to that. It's going to be fun. It's right in the heart of the Tenderloin. 201 Turk, 6 p.m. January 25th. And the Tenants Association's coalition meets on Tuesday, December 8th at 6 p.m. at the Swig Bar. And the holiday party is at December 8th at the Swig Bar also. So that's 2 events at the Swig Bar. And there will be a ceremony, food, door prizes, and a holiday celebration. And the 1-year anniversary of Bodecker Park is on Friday, December the 11th. It will be a community celebration for the Tenderloin neighborhood. So that ought to be fun. I mean, the park it's not open very often, so take advantage of it if they're going to open it up and give you something to eat and be nice to you, I'd go for it. I just live a couple doors down, so I'm gonna be into that. And please give money to BayVac, and I never remember to say this, but BayVac is very worthy of, they do a lot of community work with youth, and they educate youth and get them started in well-paying jobs young. It's an excellent opportunity for a lot of people, even older people like myself that can broadcast very cheaply, and so I don't have to yell at my TV. It's good therapy for me to get in here and talk about things that are on my mind, and you can do it too. It's easy. And please buy a street sheet. I really appreciate your time, and tune in next time, December the 4th. Thank you. Bye-bye.